Sports Radio.
All right, I'm Marky, Billson, Tri-City Sports Now, 1420 WEMB Sports Radio. I was talking a little bit. I was trying, I come up with a morning monologue and try to figure out what it is that you want to. A lot of high school games going on, but I mean, I'll give you an example. We want to, Unicoi County softball. They're going to be in the regionals next week. Well, that's great for our listeners in Unicoi County. Outside of there, not so much. Not really, and all that. And so that's the problem with high school sports is that, you can sell them, and we certainly do, but, and I will talk about, certainly if there's something that is relevant to the entire community, such as a player signing with a major college or whatever, but I'm not really into, reciting what's on TriCitySports.com. Oh, look, a swimmer has signed with Emery and Henry or something. I don't know if Emery and Henry has a swimming team, but you get the point that I'm trying to make. There's an old adage about WIP in Philly. It's one of the first sports talk radio stations. One of the more innovative ones, actually. And WIP in Philly, they have a rule that says callers, well, I think it was callers only have 90 seconds to in and out. I preface that they invented Twitter on WIP, but no, one of the things is they don't like to talk college basketball. And you're thinking, wait a minute here, this is Philly, this is the Big Five plus Drexel plus, Philadelphia Textile. They don't call it that anymore, but, how can you not talk basketball, college basketball on WIP? The idea is if they talk about Villanova, all the LaSalle fans tune out. All the Drexel fans tune out. All the Penn fans and Temple fans tune out. St. Joe's, you get it. So that's the idea here with high school sports on sports radio around here. Okay, yes, if Unicoi County, and we will broadcast their games, and we want to thank all their tremendous sponsors here. Irwin's favorite dentist, Dr. Jason Cunningham, Unicoi County Gas Utility District. Health and Home Care of Irwin, the Unicoi County Insurance Agency. Computer Guy of Irwin, Irwin Utilities. Irwin Paint and Body Shop, Lynchfield Federal Credit Union, Jones and Church Farms. Relay for Life of Unicoi County and Jones Hardware. Thanks to all of you for bringing us Blue Devil sports this season. But yeah, they might be difficult for the Unicoi County Gas Utility District. You do a lot of business in Kingsport. Just, the way it goes. Anyway, we began the show. I wanted to actually talk a little bit. You heard, by the way, the comment on the Braves. We will be talking Braves with Josh Brown at 1:30. Knock Home a Nation podcaster, and then at 1 p.m. it's Jerry Bunkowski, the right rev of Rev, or Speed as the case may be, talking NASCAR. Anyway, I was talking about, this is 40 years ago to the day that the Habs beat the Bruins in the Eastern Conference semifinals. And I mentioned this, two great coaches, Scotty Bowman, Don Cherry. I mean, it's really just one of the great hockey games, and I know no one else is going to talk about this. And I really feel like, we've got a quasi-local team in Carolina with the Hurricanes. They played last night, and it was just a very historic game that went on. And as I said, I set the tone before. And I tell you what, I said this has been in such lore. There are many documentaries you can watch on it. I mean, just, short documentaries on YouTube, let's say. But I tell you what, let's go right to the source. Let's hear some rock'em sock'em hockey. Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that because I'd like to see fighting get away from hockey. But hey, how can you resist Don Cherry? And here he is talking about his most famous game.
Talking about overtime, when I'm at a banquet or I'm walking down the street or I'm having a pop somewhere, some guy will come up to me and say, "Grapes, there's a game I remember." And I say, "Let me guess. May 10th, 1979, Boston Bruins." He says, "Yeah, that's the one." Now, for you people that didn't see it, we're going to show you a few highlights. Now, let me set it up. It's the 7th game, semifinals, Boston-Montreal, Montreal Forum. Whoever wins this game wins the cup because the Rangers are waiting to play in the finals, and they're a piece of cake. Now, we start off pretty good.
Now, Now you can see right there, I mean, the Rangers are a piece of cake. They would be. They'd lose in the finals in 5 games and all this. But, I took that from Don Cherry's Rock'em Sock'em Hockey, too. I mean, you can hear that. I now am watching highlights, but just to sort of set the scene. By the way, the game was also played on the 9th anniversary of the flying goal by Bobby Orr. And to set that up, so Bobby Orr had actually 9 years to the day that the Bruins, and so they were thinking, Connor Mayer, we can finally beat the Canadiens after 13 straight playoff losses, 34 years, 3-1 lead in the Montreal Forum, the old Montreal Forum. And, Connor, hey, think, Bobby Orr, he gave the Bruins, the Stanley Cup against the Blues. The Blues were coached by Scotty Bowman. The Habs in this particular game were coached by Scotty Bowman. You see where we're going there? All right. So, you have this circumstance, and, you got to feel like, okay, things are with the Bruins here. And as I said, it was 3-1, Game 7, Boston on top, and then a controversial high-stick penalty on Gene Rattel endured by Bob Gainey allowed basically Montreal to tie the score. They'd get a couple of power play goals, one by Guy Lafleur. Remember, I told you in the first segment how Cherry had just ruthlessly decided to check him. And I was going to give you some more information. So now let's go back to Grapes here. And he's going to set the scene up here for you. This is from Rock'em Sock'em Hockey 2. So here we go. Here's the audio.
Everybody thinks there's too many men on the ice. Wrong. This is the turning point as far as I'm concerned. Scores 3-1. We're smoking. The crowd's going. I can just get a feel things were going to change. Sure enough, we get a penalty. Now watch this. Gainey runs across the ice with his elbow. High sticks, Lady Bing. Did you hear what I said? Lady Bing, Jean Rattel. Look at the little tap he gives. We get a penalty. They score. Away they go. See that tap? Watch it. Are you kidding? They score on this penalty to make it 3-2.
Well, there you go. Yeah, now, Cherry doesn't like the penalty right there. I mean, and yeah, I can see that. It is a, I'm going to say, I do see his point. I really see his point. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. By the way he puts it up, it says if Gainey was the one who hit Rattel, no, that is the opposite here. But I mentioned Boston took the lead again 4-3 late in the game, though the Bruins were called, as he mentioned, too many men on the ice. Here's the deal. There was a real good defenseman that the Bruins had, Don Marky, and he's shadowing Guy Lafleur the whole game. And Bowman, Scotty Bowman, great coach with 9 Stanley Cups to his name, just keeps Lafleur on the ice. Runs on 4 straight shifts. You don't do that, but must-win game, third period, best player in hockey at the time, keep him on the ice, I mean, he's going to have all summer to rest. And when they finally, when he's just about ready to die, and they take him off the ice, then the Bruins, by this time, are all confused. Cherry even admits, I was confused. Nobody knows who really is supposed to go on the ice at this time because it has been Marcotte out there for so long. 2 guys come out, they've got too many men on the ice. Remember I told you earlier this week, talking about the Kentucky Derby. In hockey, officials like to swallow their whistle in the late stages of the game. 3 minutes left, and, it was just too obvious. Too many men on the ice, too long, too deep in a zone, got to call it. I mean, there's just no way around it. People are, everyone in the Montreal Forum sees it. And what do you know? Guy Lafleur scores the game winner. Just perfect, or game tying goal, Perfect slap shot, ties it up 4-4. They go into overtime. Next goal will win it. Habs get it 10 minutes into overtime. They go on to win their 4th straight Stanley Cup. What did it all mean? Boston would lose 4 more playoff series until finally, after 18 series and 43 years, finally in 88, Adams Division Finals, they defeat Montreal 4-1. Since that time, by the way, this great rivalry, Montreal and Boston. Montreal hasn't won the Cup since '93, by the way. This great rivalry, they've met 11 times. Bruins have taken 6. It would be Cherry's last game as head coach in Boston. And that's where we're talking about this, because bunch of jerks, Carolina and his old team, the Boston Bruins here, you know. He would go coach the old Colorado Rockies, not the baseball team, but there was an NHL team for several years, 70s and 80s. They moved from Kansas City. They were the Scouts originally. They moved to Denver, became the Colorado Rockies. Moved, I think it was in 83 to New Jersey, and have been there ever since as the Devils. There you go. But in 1979, 1980, because Cherry Bruins said, we want to hire somebody who can actually win these series, who can beat the Canadians. Well, yeah. Plus, I think also they may not have liked his aggressive style since, you know, the Canadians were defeating them every year. So he goes on to Colorado, wins 19 games in 1 year, never coaches again. He hasn't coached since 1980. He's been on Coach's Corner on Hockey Night in Canada, CBC, since then, seemingly. Scotty Bowman never coaches the Canadians after that game. He goes on to Buffalo, becomes their coach, general manager. That lasts for about 7 years. People think things are going to be over with him. He's actually hired as a consultant by the Pittsburgh Penguins. And when their coach died, Badger Bob Johnson, in 1991, it is Bowman who is hired to be the Penguins coach. He wins the Stanley Cup in 92. He does not have a contract, by the way. Mario Lemieux can't stand him, to the point where Bowman doesn't even attend his own practices. That is true. He then goes to Detroit, wins 3 more cups. He finishes with 9 Stanley Cups. So Bowman turned out okay, and that strategy of keeping LaFleur out there eventually won him the cup in '79 as well. But, you know, this game actually mirrors, let's say, Game 7 of the first round series between San Jose and Las Vegas this year. You know, Golden Knights are up 3-0, 10 minutes left. Controversially penalized for cross-checking Sharks captain Joe Pavelski. Sharks rally for 4 goals. Knights tied it late. San Jose wins in overtime. Same 5-4 score the Habs won by 40 years ago today, thanks to Barclay Goodrow scoring the game winner in overtime in the first round playoff series for the Sharks against the Knights this year. And that's why Grapes is still relevant, and that's why this game is still relevant. You know, the Don Cherry series, bunch of jerks Canes versus the aggressive Bruins, his old team, plus that earlier in the hockey playoffs. That's why 40 years ago today is still relevant. And that's why I'm talking about it. And now you know how it all started and why you're seeing, who is this crazy guy with the goatee and the loud suit and the Canadian accent? And what's this guy all about? Well, now you know. I'm trying to teach you hockey, folks. I'm Marky Billson. When we come back, there's also a history in baseball that I'm going to talk about. Tri-Cities Sports Now.
I love strawberries. Come and